I graduated with approximately $500,000 worth of student loan debt. These are my thoughts on the skyrocketing monthly payments. When I was in school, we actually had like a couple-hour seminar on student loan debt and how you can go around repaying it. It could either be through working for a nonprofit where you make way less money, but at the time they had promised that the loans would be forgiven after 10 years. The other way was to do income-based repayment. And during the seminar at my school, I raised a lot of concern. I told people around me, and I also asked the professors, like, hey, the administration changes every 4 years. How are you guaranteeing that this works for people in the future? And honestly, I did not believe it at all. I was very lucky that I was one of the few that was not duped. But with that much student loan, I knew I needed an action plan. I decided to just do my own plan. And so I decided to move to a state that had no state income tax. And I worked my butt off. So I would work around 12 to 16 hours, 5 days a week. And then on the weekends, I would go and substitute into other clinics and work there. So essentially, I was working 6 to 7 days a week, most weeks the first couple years that I graduated. And this is not ideal for everybody. But in my mind, I had a burdensome amount of debt that I knew I had to repay. And so I worked my butt off to get a lot of that paid down in the first 2 years alone. I had no work-life balance. It was actually very stressful and very horrible. But in my mind, I had taken out these student loans, and so I needed to repay them, and I didn't feel comfortable or confident relying on the government or anybody else to save me from my own student loans. A lot of people are coerced into taking out high student loans without really understanding the implications of it, and that's something that needs to be addressed. Institutions also need to be held more accountable. There is no reason why a school should be charging hundreds of thousands of dollars to get through and start your career.
You are freaking out right now because collection activity for federal student loans resumes on Monday. Don't panic, it's not hard to get back on track. Now here's what you need to do. Number 1, you need to go to studentaid.gov. Log in and check your loan details. Number 2, if you don't know who's servicing your student loans, call the loan locator phone number. It's an automated system and it'll tell you who's servicing your loans currently. You have to do this as soon as possible because once collections start back up, things like wage garnishment, tax offsets, and other collection activity could hit you. So make sure you take action now so that way you don't have to deal with that mess later. And if you need help navigating all that, leave a comment below and I'll be glad to help you.
Y'all, they're about to start garnishing people's wages whose student loans are in default. No, I'm not fucking kidding. I'm sorry. I know that there is a literal fucking avalanche of news happening at every moment and that every goddamn headline is a breaking news headline, but this is really serious and people need to know because it could ruin people's lives. And of course, the Trump administration doesn't give a fuck. However, okay, long story short, a lot of people received a pause on their student loans needing to be repaid back in 2020 during the pandemic, okay? Well, the Trump administration has decided that even though the economy is falling apart at the seams and Lord even knows what the fuck the unemployment numbers are, right now is apparently the right time to start garnishing people's wages to retrieve this money. This process is going to start May 5th, and they're saying that they're going to give people whose wages are going to be garnished a 30-day warning. And I don't know if that means that letters are going out May 5th. Are they sending electronic notifications? I'm really not sure. They're going to be using the same department that they use in order to send taxes and collect taxes through direct deposit. It's called the Treasury Department Offset Program. There are currently 5.3 million borrowers that are in default right now, right this second, in the United States, and they expect that number to be 10 million within the next few months. And they want to start taking people's money out of their paychecks. I don't mean to pile bad news on top of bad news, but the value of the dollar is down 10% since mid-January. The job market is motherfucking atrocious. Inflation is a literal runaway train. We have the President of the United States on Truth Social calling Jerome Powell a loser and threatening him to try to get him to lower rates to save his ass from the chaos that he caused with motherfucking tariffs. I mean, shit is on fire. But if you are in default on your student loans, I just want to warn you that the feds are coming, babe. They're on their way.
As most of you guys know, I've been using this TikTok account in hopes to surprise my husband help pay off our student loan debt. My husband still has no idea about this account. In a little over 2 weeks, my family and I are moving from Arizona all the way to Georgia to help pay off our student loans. So that is the plan. We are still doing that, but something big did happen last week. Well, my husband and I have a 9-month-old. Last Thursday, I took her to the doctor's because she just had a random cold. The doctor had told my husband and I to take her to be observed at the hospital overnight. Because of that, they wanted us to do an echo scan. While they were doing that, they noticed something that wasn't normal with her heart. So then they sent us to do a CT scan. And from the CT scan, they were able to confirm what they saw from the ultrasound. They were able to figure out that she was born with a very rare heart birth defect. So pretty much what's going to happen now is we're still moving out in 2.5 weeks and we're still going to Atlanta. Because she still is currently sick, no one will do the procedure on her for 3 to 4 weeks. So we are going to go there. She's going to get the procedure probably around June 1st. So obviously it's a really hard time for a family, and not to mention it's going to be very expensive. It's probably going to cost us around $10,000. My husband still doesn't know about this account, but we did make a GoFundMe. I'm going to link it in my bio for those who want to help out. And even if you can't donate, I would honestly just appreciate if this was liked and shared to as many people as possible so we could hopefully meet our goal of $10,000. But thank you guys so much for all the support you've given me over the last month and a half. I truly appreciate it. And also, we really appreciate the continued prayers. If you can just share, like, and comment and spread this to as many people as possible, that would be greatly appreciated. And thank you guys so much for your support. Bye.
Yesterday, the federal government started collecting on past due loans, student loans. Let's talk about it. Guys, we are so screwed. We are so screwed. And I don't mean we as people who owe that money, although, we're screwed. I'm talking about everyone. The economy is screwed. This isn't my typical content, but listen, I talk about Latinos in the U.S. because I have a PhD in Latino studies. I know you're going to say, why did you have a PhD in that? What a waste of money. Everything that you own is a waste of money, so argue with your mama. I'm making this series because it's important for us to understand how this is going to impact all of us. According to a report from TransUnion, they estimate that 20.5% of student loan borrowers are in serious default, which is defined as being 90 days or more delinquent on a student loan payment. And as defaults on these loans rise, Bloomberg Economic estimates that consumer spending will reduce by $63 billion. $63 billion. Do you understand the impact that this is going to have on our economy? I've already started to notice it. I have a lot of friends who own businesses, and they're saying that between January and now has been the slowest that their business has ever been. People are skipping their last appointment. People are not hiring these coaches or trainers. People are skipping out on large purchases like homes and cars. And when consumer spending is down, doesn't look good for the economy. My favorite student loan debt trope is all the boomers and all of the bootlickers who say, they took out the loans. They should pay them back. No shit, Sherlock. Obviously, if you took a loan out, you should pay it. If you took a loan out, you should try and understand the terms of repayment of that loan. Most of us were 18, 19 years old when we took out these loans. So understand that federal student loans have daily compounding interest, and that snowballs into a shit ton of money. I graduated in 2017 with $110,000 of student loan debt, and my loan was only active from 2017 to 2020 when the COVID freeze happened. And 2017 is when I took out the majority of that student loan balance. Though I had a couple of loans prior to that, some subsidized, some unsubsidized. So believe me when I tell you that in those 3 years, with the addition of the other few, my loans accrued $10,000 in student loan debt interest. $10,000 of interest in only 3 years. And I never missed a payment. I always made my minimum payment. Now I overpay because I want to relieve my family of the student loan curse. And I'm fortunate enough that I've paid down my interest, and I pay it down every month and hit some principal. And I can tell you, my balance is just south of $50,000 now, and my student loans accrue about $250 in interest each month. I made a payment 15 days ago, and it's accumulated $162 of interest. This is just ridiculous. I mean, this is economic violence. And for a lot of us, people of color who went to school to get educated, to contribute to society with our knowledge, with our skill set, and with our communication strategies, it's unfortunate that we are up against this repayment violence. I'm going to be sharing a couple more details about my student loan story and what I'm doing to pay down my student loan debt this week. So follow me if you're interested. And if you want to cry like, oh, just pay them back. I am, bitch. I'm paying them back. So go argue with your mama.
So I actually have a theory on this. This person is saying that they make roughly $140,000 a year with their partner, husband. And with the student loan payments, they're going to be struggling. So I don't know if you noticed this, but if you go and you try to consolidate to get a payment that you can actually potentially have more of a possibility of affording, it also lets you know that if you do that, you won't have any loan forgiveness. I have this theory. I'm going to say it really low just in case any of the plants or appliances are listening. I have this theory that they're trying to force us to consolidate because we are so close to getting more loan forgiveness. And so they're trying to hike these prices up as much as possible to cash grab as much as they can. Because I personally believe that we're real close to getting what we've been asking for a long time. And I actually think that what they're doing right now, these absurd amounts based on your gross, when I don't know about you, but tons of freaking taxes are taken out of my paycheck every week, they're going to have no choice but to do something. Because the lady that I spoke to recently, she's like, yeah, I've actually been hearing that a lot. I've just been like suggesting that maybe people pay half of it in the first part of the month and then like the rest of it at the end. Like that's going to fucking make a difference. Like, are they planning on filing for bankruptcy? Something's fishy.
I pay $4,382 to my federal student loans each month. Yes, you heard that right. $4,382 each month. Today, in part 2 of my series of videos on student loans, I'm going to tell you why I decided to walk away from public service loan forgiveness. So buckle up. For those who are new here, hi, I'm Dr. Esther Trujillo, and I post about Latinos in the US on TikTok. Occasionally, I also post about why going through academia is financially violent for low-income and first-generation students, and I talk about why student loans are killing our joy and our opportunities. I graduated with $110,000 of student loan debt. And because the federal government believes in daily compounding interest and dark magic, that figure ballooned to $120,000 during the COVID freeze. Now, between 2017 and 2020, I paid $6,332 toward my loans while on an income-driven plan and under the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Every dollar that I paid during that time went to interest. None of it went to principal. I was on track. I was doing everything right. But in 2022, I decided to leave my public sector job. The reason? Well, my then fiance, now husband, made me a spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet changed my life. I mean, talk about romance. This man did a full-scale economic modeling for our future life over dinner. I don't know if that's not romantic. I don't know what is. But basically, I told him, I can't marry you because my income's going to go up too high. We have to file jointly, do the immigration stuff. And if we do that, my payment's going to balloon, so I can't marry you. And he was like, bet, let me make you a spreadsheet. Needless to say, he had me from there. So it turns out that if I stayed in the public sector, I would end up paying $68,000 total. And that's if I stayed on an income-driven plan and tried to make those 120 qualifying payments for PSLF. But that meant that I would have to stay in a low-paying job for the next 5 to 6 years. Professor salaries, I don't know if you guys know, but professor salaries ain't shit. I mean, it's really a sad situation. The highest paid incoming professors that I've known of make about $100K and they're in the UC system. Ivies make about the same, maybe a little less, maybe $80,000, $87,000 a year. And it's not a lot of money and it jumps very small increments each year. Even when people get tenure, that figure only goes up about 10K, which is really sad. So we modeled it. If I jumped to a private sector job where I made at least $90,000, I could throw $5,000 a month at the problem and kill my loan within 3 years. I would be on a path towards salary growth, potential bonuses, investing for my retirement, and to be honest, just hope. So I made the pivot. Now I work in the private sector. I'm on track to be completely free of this student loan by this time next year. My balance is under 50,000 right now. I can smell the freedom. I can see the finish line. So why did I decide to let go of PSLF and the public sector life? Well, there are a couple reasons. I was noticing a couple things. First, I noticed that a lot of my friends who made those 120 payments were being disqualified from PSLF for technicalities. Things like missing paperwork, servicer mistakes, and other issues like not consolidating before starting that payment plan. Next, what I noticed was that a lot of people were staying in terrible jobs just for, to be able to qualify for PSLF. Now, for me, pay was the problem. My job actually wasn't that bad when I compare it to what other people I've known have gone through in professor jobs. Professor jobs have a lot of prestige, but they don't have a lot of pay and they don't have a lot of respect within academia itself. I mean, think of any academic, the egos are out of control, so you can imagine what those faculty meetings are like. The third thing that I noticed was that the opportunity cost of not moving to the private sector was too high for me. My skill set is super valuable, and I could see that, my husband could see that, and other people could too. So yes, I will pay the full amount of my principal loan and all the interest. That is $133,717.32 when all is said and done. But I'll be free. I'm gonna be free, bitch, and I'm gonna be free fast. I'm gonna be free, I'm gonna be making more. I'm going to be building generational wealth, and there's not a single employee from FedLoan that's going to get my money. Well, not for any longer. And to be clear, I think PSLF is a great tool. Teachers, public health workers, public servants, they are the backbone of our society. That just wasn't my path anymore. So stay tuned for my next couple videos about student loans, federal student loans. This isn't just a choices problem, it's a structural problem.
How are people affording life right now? How are people tackling this cost of living on the average American salary? I just watched a TikTok of a teacher who makes a teacher's salary. I don't know what state she's in, so I don't know how much she makes, but her one-bedroom apartment is $2,000. And when she spends $2,000 on that one-bedroom apartment, it doesn't even come with a washer and dryer. So she has to go pay an additional $2 every time she wants to use their washer and dryer. Okay, how does that leave her any extra money to spend? And then she said she had a $400 car payment, which some people were bashing her on that. But in today's economy with interest rates, that's really not that bad. And I'm sure she needs a dependable car. So you talk about teacher's salary, $2,000 in rent, $400 car payment. You got insurance, you got groceries, electricity. I don't understand how people are affording life right now, and it really makes me sad for some people. You have people who are like her. She's single, she has her own salary, or families where it just works out best for them for the mother to stay home. And if the father is just making an average American salary, how are they affording life without going in a bunch of debt? This lady who's a teacher started crying because she said she realizes on her salary and where she lives, she will actually end up in more debt. Then she will just continue to accrue more debt and more debt and more debt because her salary is not matching the cost of living. And what's sad is I've seen people be like, just spend less. Listen, guys, the cost of living is rising and our salaries are stagnant. Okay, so there's not just spend less. That's not the problem here. The problem is the cost of living is outrageous, and minimum wage in some states is still $7.25. Teachers in some states are still paid a ridiculously low salary, even though their job is super important. I don't know what we can do about this, but I'm just going on a rant because it really, really pisses me off.